If you have been meditating and you feel like when you meditate, nothing is happening, I think that what I'm going to share in this video will be tremendously helpful for you because this was something that early on when I first started meditating, I noticed or I felt like when I would meditate, nothing would happen. And I remember telling people this. I remember saying, I keep trying to meditate and I'll meditate for however long, 20 to 30 minutes, like they're telling me to, and nothing's happening. I feel like I'm wasting time. I'm not having the mystical experiences. I'm not experiencing deeper states of meditation. I'm not experiencing anything that they're telling me I should be experiencing in meditation. So therefore, nothing's happening, and I guess meditation is not for me. But then I learned that the whole reason I was experiencing this nothingness in meditation, and the whole reason why I kept getting discouraged and frustrated from what I was considering to be an unsuccessful practice of meditation where I wasn't experiencing the things I wanted to be experiencing. What I discovered in this was that my approach to meditation was completely off. And because of this approach, because of this misconception I had about what meditation actually is, this was the very thing that was preventing me from having the experiences and from having what I would consider to be successful meditation sessions. Now, this belief I had about meditation was that meditation is all about the practice. It's all about the 10 to 15 minute session I was having every morning. And it was all about having some kind of experience of transcendence during this session. Or it was all about having some kind of encounter with God or some kind of supernatural event that would take place while I was meditating. So I was looking for that. I was expecting that. I was expecting to get into these deeper states of meditation quickly. I was expecting the transcendence and just the extravagant experience, but it would never come. And I always felt like I was doing something wrong. But my whole approach, my whole focus was, this is what meditation is about. Meditation is about mystical experience. But this is not true. Meditation is not about mystical experience. And I think part of me almost felt like the belief I had that meditation was a mystical experience, the deeper belief in that was that in meditating, it would be almost like an escape from life. It would be some kind of trance or some kind of mystical experience that would be, like I said, escaping the 3D reality for a time, and then you'd come back and you would be transformed. Like, that's what I thought it was. But I learned that meditation fundamentally is not an escape from life. And this was my problem because that was my focus. Meditation is not an escape from life. Meditation is training for life. Meditation, I'll say it like this. Meditation is a way of life. It goes way beyond just a practice that we do in the mornings. The practice of meditation is absolutely essential. It's what grounds us. It's what keeps us centered each and every day. And that's why I love to meditate for 20 to 30 minutes every morning. And this is the first thing I do when I wake up. But that is just one component to what meditation actually is. Meditation goes way beyond that. Meditation is training for how to live. And this is something that Thich Nhat Hanh said. Thich Nhat Hanh said, meditation is not an escape from life. It is preparation for how to live. It's training for how to be in the world. This is what it's all about. And so when you start meditating, what happens is you start to realize that you are not the doer. You are the watcher. You are the witness that's aware of everything that you're doing. And beyond the body, beyond the mind, beyond any kind of egoic identification, there's just this awareness. There's this consciousness that you fundamentally are. and it's undisturbed from anything that's happening in your experience. And so when you can sit back and you can be the witness, you can be the watcher instead of the doer, then all of a sudden there's this stillness that starts to arise in your experience. And this is what keeps you centered. And so you go throughout your day while you're meditating. What you're doing, before I get to going throughout your day, I want to mention this real quick. While you're meditating and you're being centered as the witness, as the one that's observing, what you're essentially doing in this practice is you're recognizing that you are not your thoughts, which is a huge step in the spiritual journey, in the journey of meditation. It's realizing that you have thoughts, but you are not your thoughts. So you detach from your thoughts, you watch them pass by like leaves down a stream or like clouds in the sky, and you just let them do their thing. You're not trying to control them, you're not trying to stop them, you're just allowing them to do whatever they want to do. You're sitting back as the witness. One analogy I gave one time was, imagine you're sitting on a riverbank watching boats pass up and down a river. Same thing as watching leaves pass down a stream or clouds in the sky. It's essentially, it's pointing to this deeper essence of presence that you are, that is just watching. It's just observing. And like I said, it's not attached to anything that you are experiencing or anything that's arising in your consciousness. It's the consciousness that is just sitting back watching. And so you can come up with whatever analogy you want. It doesn't matter. Whatever's helpful for you. But essentially what you're doing in meditation is you're practicing this. You're teaching yourself how to stay grounded, how to stay centered in the witness. And then you go about your day and you're living life. And you're doing what you do. You go to work, you go to school, you go to the grocery, you run errands, you go to the gym, you hang out with friends and family. But whatever is happening, you're not allowing these circumstances, these situations to take control over you. Because again, you are not the doer of actions. You are the one that is just detached, sitting back and witnessing your life. You're witnessing everything that's happening, everything that's arising in the experience of consciousness. And you're not attached to these things. You're letting them come into your life, you're letting them come into your awareness. And if something comes into your awareness that causes you to act or respond a certain way, you do that from this place of presence, from this place of being grounded, which is going to have a tremendous impact on what you do and what you say, as opposed to responding or reacting from the unconscious ego. So you're going to be approaching it at any situation that requires you to respond, like I said, or act. You're going to be approaching it from this place of stillness, from this place of clarity, from this place of intuition, which is going to most of the time result in some kind of positivity instead of some kind of negativity, which again comes from operating or approaching life situations from the ego. And this is what meditation is doing. Meditation is training you how to always stay centered, how to always stay grounded in being, in presence. And what it essentially is you're surrendering to the Tao, to the flow of life, without trying to be this separate egoic self. See, you're not a separate being. You're not this egoic self that's just wandering through life, that's living a life. No, you are life itself that is experiencing this separate egoic self, which is an illusion and it's temporary. But you are the universe experiencing itself through the form of a finite mind, which again is temporary. And this is part of the experience, this is part of the journey. And so we should embrace it. We should not try to run away from it. And again, this is why meditation is not, you're not escaping your incarnation. You're not escaping your temporary time here on earth, because you're here for a reason. You're here for a purpose. And I think The main purpose is to awaken to the fact that you are not this separate self. You are not this egoic body-mind identification that is formed as a mental construct. You are so much more than that. And this is liberating, and I've talked about this in other videos. You know, when you awaken to your true self as pure awareness, as the one that is simply observing, watching, then all of a sudden you start to flow with life, and you live from this place of letting go instead of this place of having to control everything and try and having to. And this is really where a lot of worry and anxiety and fear arises. When you're living from separateness, you're trying to control every little thing in your life, and life is so serious, and you're lost in the dream, you're lost in Maya, you're lost in the illusion of separation. But what awakening brings you to this place of realization where you see that, again, you are not the doer of actions, you are not the separate self, you are not a separate being. You are pure awareness. You are consciousness itself that is simply watching. You are simply observing. And you bring this into the incarnation. You bring this awareness into the appearance of being a separate self, living some kind of life on this linear frame of time. But this is just part of the Maya. This is part of the dream. This is part of the soul's evolution, we could say. But the reality of it is you are what's aware. You are beyond the ego, beyond the mind, beyond space, beyond time, beyond it all. Sitting back as the witness in meditation. The whole point of meditation is to awaken to this during the practice, but then you take it beyond the practice. You take it into your life. And then, like I said, meditation goes from being a little practice that you're doing in the morning or in the evenings or whenever you're doing it into a lifestyle. And this is going to cause you to live from this place of surrender, of flow, of being centered. So the essence of your being is pure stillness. And everything that you're experiencing in life is being filtered through this inherent stillness that is coming from the essence of your being. And you are living life. But again, you are life itself, experiencing this finite body mind, this incarnation. And this is, I think, the key to overcoming fear fundamentally. You're always going to have fear as long as you're in an incarnation, as long as you're in a body mind, because we fall asleep to this true essence of our being. And we get away from meditation. We drift away from being grounded. And that's why it's important to have that practice in the mornings or in the evenings, whenever you do it, to make sure you're grounded each and every day. But when we drift away, we fall asleep, we become unconscious to who we really are, we start living from the ego, and this is when fear starts to arise. But again, as long as we're centered and grounded and living from this place of pure stillness, the fear will start to dissipate. But as long as you're living in an incarnation, you're going to have fears about surface level things, like if somebody slams the door or you hear a loud noise, you're going to have a moment where you kind of freak out. That's normal. That's part of being human. But fundamentally, you won't fear anything. You won't fear being non-existent, or you won't fear death, because you will have known through direct experience that what you are is beyond birth and death. What you are is beyond time. What you are is beyond space. And you are not in time. Time is in you. You are not in space. Space is in you. You are not in your body. The appearance of the body, which is coming from the finite mind, is in you. You are not conscious. You are consciousness itself. And everything is arising from this place of awareness. And meditation is training on how to live from this place, because I don't think we were designed to live from the headspace, from the analytical thinking mind, from this place of being finite, from this place of being a separate self. I think that this is something that has been created by the mind. I think it does serve a purpose in our ultimate awakening, but I don't think we're supposed to be living our lives all of the time from the mind, from the headspace. The mind is useful, it's essential for living on earth. It's required for certain situations, if we have to solve problems, if we have to do certain tasks. But ultimately, we're not meant to live there. We're meant to live from this stillness, from this place of presence, from this place of rest that is within the depths of our being. And this is where we're grounded. This is where we should be living from. And this is when we flow with life. This is when we realize that we are life itself and we're not attached to certain situations or people or the future or the past. We're just simply being. We react when we need to react. We respond when we need to respond. But again, this is coming from this place of presence. And I think living from this heart space instead of from the head space is where we experience the most freedom in our life here on earth. And I think that that is our divine inheritance, to be able to experience that freedom, to live, as Jesus said, full of life and life more abundantly, where we're not trapped in these egoic constructs that we build. We're not trapped in the fear and the anxiety and the shame and the guilt and the insecurity. There's a flow, there is a freedom, a peace, a tranquility about us that is just innate to who we are. And that's where we're supposed to be living from. And with that, you'll start taking life a lot less seriously. It'll still be sincere, and this is a big difference. You're taking life sincerely, it's meaningful, but you're not so serious anymore. Because you're not trying to control things, because you realize there is no one, there is no separate self that is there to control all the stuff. That's the illusion of being an ego, of being a separate self. You realize that you are life itself. You are the universe itself. You are the divine, temporarily experiencing life from this point of view of appearing to be finite, appearing to be a separate body mind. But this is just an appearance. This is just a mental construct. And so this gives you grace to live more freely. This gives you this awareness and this state of being that is detached and is living from the divine essence that you are. And so again, the true byproduct of living from this place of stillness is not only peace, it's not only wisdom and love and presence, which are all great things. It's also being less serious, being lighthearted, being more like a child. And this is what Jesus says. You must become like a child in order to enter into the kingdom. What does he mean by this? He's not talking about like you must become a child in order to get saved and go to heaven someday. Because when Jesus is talking about kingdom, it has nothing to do with going to some place in the afterlife. He's talking about a reality right here, right now. It's a state of consciousness which enables us to see what reality is all about. It moves us past all these egoic constructs that we've built up from the mind that have caused us to live in this illusion of separateness. And so to become like a child is to live from this place of just whatever happens, happens. There's a flow to your life. You're laughing, you're smiling, you're enjoying life. And life is much more of a dance than some kind of serious test that determines, where you spend the rest of your life forever and ever and ever. There is no seriousness. There's just, it's this life of curiosity and wonder and awe. And you're just living, you're just being. There's just pure presence. And yeah, I think this is what we're all called to. And I think meditation is the best method to return home to our true authentic selves, which is a lot more childlike than it is adult-like, we could say. It's a lot more lighthearted than serious and so fixated on certain things and so attached and obsessed and addicted. No, it's a lot more relaxed, but it's still grounded in this stillness. It's still grounded in this presence. And so my encouragement to you is, if you've been meditating again, and this is something that you're just discouraged with, just realize that it's not about the mystical experience. It's not about having some kind of amazing encounter with some kind of being. It's not about astral projection. It's not about lucid dreaming. All those things can happen. The more you meditate, you're going to learn how to get into these deep states of consciousness. You're going to learn about brain waves and how to slow your brain waves down, how to get into gamma. You're going to learn about being in delta, being in delta but awake. That's possible, believe it or not. And I'm going to make some more videos on meditation in the future about brain waves and how to shift into theta and delta and gamma more easily from beta. And I'm going to talk about the importance of alpha, things like that. That's going to be in future videos, because I have been getting a lot of questions about that, and it's important. It is essential to learn about the different stages, the different steps. Like I said, the brain waves, the states of consciousness, because the more you know about this, and the more you learn how to shift, and the more you learn some helpful modalities and methods to help you to get into these deeper states, this is when you will start to experience more of the supernatural, or more of the mystical stuff that is awesome. From this comes healing, intuition, creativity. You learn how to get into flow states quicker. You learn about all kinds of stuff. And this is where mystical experience do absolutely happen. But the whole point of this video is, it's not all about that. And even with everything I'm going to be teaching and sharing on how to get into these deeper states and how to make it more likely for you to have a mystical experience, even with all of that, if your focus, if your purpose in meditation is still all about that, it's all about attaining or achieving some kind of mystical experience or some kind of divine encounter or some kind of supernatural whatever, like if that's still your focus, you're going to miss the most important benefit of meditation in and of itself, which has really nothing to do with all that. It has everything to do with being in life, living life from this place of being centered. Okay? So that's what meditation is all about. If you start meditating on a regular basis, even if you're not having mystical experiences from your meditation, you will start to notice a shift in your life. You will start to notice this presence, this expansion of consciousness throughout your day. And it won't be overnight where you're like, oh, I'm a brand new person because I just started meditating yesterday. No, this is something that does take time. It takes practice, just like anything else. But it doesn't take long. Once you get into it and once you learn really how to meditate, then there is a shift that happens and you do start to notice it in your everyday life. And I've made other videos about this, and I've talked about meditation a lot. And so I have a meditation playlist on my channel. If you're interested in learning more about it and you really want to start experiencing this lifestyle, this new way of living from the heart, from stillness, from presence, instead of from the ego and from trying to control everything and from anxiety and fear, then I highly recommend watching those videos. It's a good place to start. Maybe you haven't even meditated before and you're just wanting to learn more about it. You're wanting to get rid of some of the misconceptions that will prevent you from experiencing what you want to experience in meditation before you even start meditating. So I would say watch those videos before you even start trying to practice it, just so you can have some comfort and peace that what you're doing is correct and it will lead you to experiencing amazing benefits from meditation in and of itself as a way of life instead of just as some kind of practice or something that you're doing. So yeah, I hope this video was helpful. I think that this is something that we all have to constantly remind ourselves of, because we can get so attached to all the different stories that people have about, oh, I meditated and I left my body and I traveled all over the astral realm and I met this being and that being. And, all that stuff is extravagant. It's cool. It's like, oh, we want that. We want this experience. We want that experience. But what I'm telling you is, and this is from my own experience, like the mystical experience, the supernatural, all that stuff, it has a way of showing up at just the right time when we need it. But there's been times in my life where I've been meditating for years and I was trying to really experience something, or I was getting into these deeper states of meditation, and I was completely transcending this awareness of being a separate self. But even with that, I'd never felt like anything mystical was happening. I wasn't having any kind of encounters with other beings. I wasn't having these states of transcendence, of oneness with everything. I was going deep in meditation, definitely beyond the sense of being a separate self, and I was going beyond beta and alpha, but nothing was happening. And then there's been times in my life where I wasn't meditating at all. I was just walking around my neighborhood, or I was just hanging out in my backyard, just relaxing, not even thinking about anything. And then all of a sudden I would have a mystical experience. It would come out of nowhere. And some of the most amazing, some of the most incredible mystical experiences I've ever had came from me not meditating. They came from me doing something that would most people would consider to be ordinary. I was washing the dishes, or I was doing laundry, or I was just sitting on my couch. Something so simple, something so ordinary and common and mundane led to me having the mystical experience. So I can't explain that. I don't know why that happens at some times and then it doesn't happen at other times. But what I do know is it should never be our focus. If it is our focus, that's just something else we're trying to control. It's something else we're trying to attain. And in my experience with spirituality, with meditation, it's never the best way. That approach is always going to leave you frustrated. It's always going to leave you in the egoic consciousness, thinking that there's something wrong with you. You're going to be comparing yourselves to you're going to be comparing yourself to other people, to other people's experiences, and it's just going to leave you in this low vibrational frequency. And so that's why I say, let it all go. Don't worry about it. And just be grounded, be centered. Whatever happens, happens. Go with the Tao, go with the flow. And it will lead you to having the experiences and encounters that you need exactly when you need them. And you'll know that for sure when you're having the experience, because there's always a purpose. There's always a meaning behind the experience taking place. But don't try to get it. Don't be worried if you've been meditating for 3 weeks and it hasn't happened yet. Relax, be still, and be present, and just relax. Just go with the flow. And know that you are so much more than you think. The mind is tricky. The mind will always try to bring you back into this egoic consciousness. And this is where all these thoughts are coming from about, well, why hasn't it happened to me yet? And what am I doing wrong? But just let it all go, surrender, laugh, have a good time, enjoy life, have a nice meal, spend time with people that you love, be human, and really focus on being human, really focus on being fully present in this life, and you watch the supernatural that comes from that. So I think that's it for today. If you found this video helpful, informative, or insightful, please leave a thumbs up at the bottom of the screen, and be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Namaste.